welcome to my channel. So my name is Shola, and this is a channel that is for women to motivate, inspire and empower women to be the absolute best versions of themselves, because I believe that if you want to change your life, you have to change yourself. So before I get into the video, guys, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed to my channel so far. I really appreciate you. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, guys, please click the button below and subscribe. Thank you. This week's topic, guys, is on finding yourself again. So the reason why this is on find yourself again, because I just believe that, you know, if you want to change your life, you know, last week I spoke about never giving up on your dreams. If you want to change your life, you have to know who you are. And what happens is that when we're born with an innate sense of who we are. We are just who we are. We haven't been shaped by the world, by society, by our parents, by friends or family. We just are. And then as we grow up, we begin to conform. We begin to see, you know, what is right and what is wrong. You know, and our mind begins to tell us how we should live our life. And people begin to, and we conform ourselves and we try and fit our personalities into this box of what is socially acceptable. And then we make decisions for our life based on where we think we're supposed to be and what we think we should do and what people say. And what happens is that, you know, this conformed version of us that's in this box, making these decisions, going down this path, and before you know it, you wake up one day and you're like, who am I? Like, how did I get here? I don't even know myself. I'm just like, you're like an empty shell. And this was my story. Like, I remember when I was like 30 years old and I turned 30 and I had a breakdown. I had a massive breakdown, guys. Like, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how I'd got to where I was. I was desperately unhappy. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because I felt ashamed of myself. I felt like I couldn't look at myself. And it has been a journey that I have been on in realizing that I am accountable for myself and just taking the steps I need to take to get to know myself. And in getting to know myself and figure out who I am, then begin to take the steps that I need to change my life. And so, you know, I really want to encourage you right now, like, if you are in a place right now where you feel empty, there's no joy in your life, you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, who is this woman looking back at me? If you are in that place right now, then it's time for you to start to find yourself again. It's time for you to unpack yourself from that box that you forced yourself into and find the freedom to be who you truly are. Because only when you show up in the world who you truly are, only when you show up in the world as your most authentic self, can you live the best life, the life that God has intended for you to live, right? So the first step in order for you to begin to find yourself is just to get really still. It's as simple as that. Like, it seems simple, but these days we fill up every second of our day with activities. From the minute we wake up in the morning, we're on our phone scrolling. Then it's just activity after activity until we go to bed. Most of us go to bed scrolling on our phone until we're so exhausted. Where is that time in that space between on our phones, watching TV, talking to our friends, all the other things that we have to do as women? Where is the time that we take to spend with ourselves and get to know ourselves? So it is really important that if you want to start to get to know yourself, it's really important that you start to spend time with yourself. You know, another thing you need to do is you need to look back. You need to look back on your life and you need to look at where were the points in your life where you made decisions that took you down the wrong path, you know, and then learn from that. Learn from, you know, when you made the decision, learn from that mistake, see what you can get from it. And then also, as you're looking back, remember the times in your life when you felt joy. It might have been for fleeting moments, but grab that fleeting moment that you remember and remember what was it in that moment that made you feel joy, that made you feel so much like yourself. So those things you grab with you now and you bring them into your life. So the next thing is like remembering what is it that you used to do that used to light up your world. Did you used to like reading, drawing, dancing, singing, taking photography, playing sports? What was that thing that you've let go of as you've grown up that you used to do that used to make you so happy? It's time to start doing that again. You know, sometimes just by starting that, like for me, I love to write. And just by me starting to pick up my pen and write again, I started to connect back to myself. I started to remember who I was before I allowed myself to conform to the labels that society had put on me. So what is that thing that brings you joy, that used to bring you joy, that lights you up? What is that thing? Start doing it. It's not about doing it to make money or for your career. It's about doing it for you. It's about doing that thing just for you, just because. Not everything we do in life has to have, you know, an end objective. We have to do things that bring us joy. We have to take care of ourselves. It's so vitally important that you know who you are, because when you begin to know who you are, that's when you begin to know your self-worth, your self-value, your confidence, your self-belief. You cannot have those things in yourself from an authentic place if you do not truly know who you are. When you figure out who you are again, then your self-worth, your self-value, you've got all of that stuff in abundance, because you know your worth, you know what you're about, you know what you bring to the table. Everything about you that you thought was quirky or that you thought was weird, that you tried to get rid of, no. Those are the things that are going to make you stand out. Those are the things that are going to make you authentic. Another way of getting back to yourself is that, are there people in your life that you can't be yourself around? That whenever you're around those people, you have to conform to a version of yourself of who they think you are. But you know that that's not your true self. You know, if there are people in your life that you can't be yourself around, you know, or you have to pretend that you're not, you need to cut those people out of your life. And it's not about doing it from a space of hate. No. From a place of love. Like, thank you, but I'm gonna love you from afar. You're not good for me. If someone is not good for you, it's time you started putting yourself first. Stop caring about what people think. Stop caring about hurting their feelings. It's hurting you. It's hurting your feelings when you subject yourself to having to make yourself something you're not when you're around them. You are hurting yourself, and it's time for you to start putting yourself first. Inside of us, God has placed this navigation. It's a voice inside of us that is always there guiding us. And what we do is that we ignore it. We've ignored it so much that we can't even hear it, but it's still there. So as you begin to get quiet and spend time with yourself, as you begin to do the things that bring you joy in your life, as you begin to really self-evaluate and figure out who you really are and not who you've been told to be, you know, you'll begin to hear that voice again. You begin to be guided by that voice, you know, and once you know who you are, you can begin to step out and create your best life. Another thing is like, don't be afraid. Don't stay in your comfort zone. You're never going to discover who you are. You're never going to find yourself again when you stay in your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is your enemy. In that comfort zone, there is no life. There is no growth. There's just stagnation. You stay the same year in, year out, and slowly you are dying to yourself. And inside there's a voice that is screaming about how unhappy you are, screaming. So step outside of that comfort zone. It might be scary, but take a leap of faith and just do it. Because when you step out and you step into what else there could be, you will discover new parts of yourself. Don't be afraid to try new things, because in trying new things, you will discover a whole side of yourself that you did not even know existed. There are many of us out there, many of you that watch this, that you have gifts that you don't even know you have because you've never stepped outside your comfort zone. You've always allowed fear to guide you. It's time to stop all of that. I really believe that the first step to changing your life is to really knowing who you are. And in order to know who you are, you've got to go down that journey of finding yourself again. So guys, I really hope that this week's talk has blessed you. I just want to say that if you are in a place where you've lost yourself, you don't know where you don't know who you become, and you want to find yourself again, then I hope the tips in this video will help you. Let me know in the comments, how you felt, how you've lost yourself. And I just really challenge you this week just to take time out and disconnect and spend time with yourself. Do something that you love. Do something that brings you joy just for the sake of it, and remember who you are. So guys, have a great week. God bless you, and I'll see you next Friday.